4 bombs have gone off in Cairo, Egypt. We're going to take a look at the Muslim Brotherhood and Muhammad and his swords, and poor Justin Bieber and poor John Boehner. We'll have some fun today. This is the voice of resistance.
Standing for truth in the 4 corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
On Friday, 4 bombs were detonated in Cairo, Egypt, apparently set off by the Muslim Brotherhood as they continue their violent retaliation against Egyptian authorities for the coup that caused the ouster of Mohammed Morsi, who was lock, stock, and barrel of the ideology of the Muslim Brotherhood. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you about the plight of our Christian brothers and sisters in Egypt, as well as look at why the members of the Muslim Brotherhood and other devout Muslims kill people as a means of extending their religion. Let's begin with that. If you go to the Topkapi, Museum in Istanbul, you will see, Istanbul, Turkey, you will see 2 swords that were owned by Muhammad. You will also see 1 sword each for the first 4 caliphs. Those are the successors to Muhammad. After the Battle of Uhud, Muhammad took his sword, covered with blood, to his daughter and said, when the apostle rejoined his family and handed his sword to his daughter Fatima, saying, wash the blood from this, daughter, for by God it has served me well today. You can go into the prophet's room in the museum in Istanbul, and you can see these swords. You see them here in these pictures. You can also see these 4 swords, the 4 swords that were used by the first 4 successors of Muhammad. And we have an eyewitness account in a revered history of the life of Muhammad, a respected Islamic history of the life of Muhammad, where Muhammad says, wash the blood from my sword. It served me well today. Most Americans, and ironically, many Muslims, do not know that Muhammad killed people with his own hand, and that his swords are revered, respected, honored relics of his work. If you consider the first 4 popes, the first 4 bishops of Rome, if you please, or you prefer, they were all martyred. And the Catholic world and the Orthodox world and the Anglican world all have what are called relics. 1st degree, 2nd degree, and 3rd degree relics. These are either parts of a person's body or something that they wore or something that they touched. And there are allegedly pieces of the real cross. Now, I say allegedly for the sake of some viewers. I think that they're probably real. It doesn't matter because we know Jesus was crucified. But if you look at the relics of the Christian faith, starting with the very nails used to hang our Lord from his cross and the cross itself, they speak of sacrifice. They speak of suffering. They speak of martyrdom. The most prized relics of the Muslim faith are weapons of death. The early successors of Peter died for their faith and died to help establish Christianity in the world. Muhammad and his early successors, by contrast, killed to start Islam. And so when the Muslim Brotherhood and other so-called terrorist groups that are Muslim kill people for the extension of their religion, or murder people to try and establish Sharia law and to re-establish the caliphate, the successors of Muhammad. They are following in the footsteps of the founder of their religion. It's just that simple. It's really not hard to figure out. And when you look at those swords of Muhammad and look at the swords of the caliphs, it's a valid question to ask. How many innocent people were murdered, were slain with these swords so that Islam could take root? My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paulas Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life.
An appeaser is one who feeds the crocodile, hoping it will eat him last. Sir Winston Churchill.
Muhammad died in 632. Before he died, he sent this threatening letter to the leader of the Copts, which abided in Egypt. He said, "In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, from Muhammad, servant of God and his messenger, to Makikis, the leader of the Copts, there is safety and peace for those on the right path. Therefore, I invite you to accept Islam. If you accept, you will find peace, you will save your throne, and you will earn a twofold reward for letting your subjects be honored with Islam. If you turn your back on this offer, the responsibility for the disaster to befall your subjects belongs to you." This is Muhammad's way of evangelizing. Threaten the leader. There's peace for you if you accept Islam. You can save your throne if you accept Islam. And if not, then the disaster to befall you, the disaster to befall your subjects, the responsibility for it rests with you. By 646, just 14 years after Muhammad was dead, Egypt was conquered by Muslim armies. And this warning that Muhammad sent to the Copts has been lived out in brutal acts of murder, subjugation, the destruction of churches, the enslavement of innocent Christian people. The threats of this letter have been carried out for 1,400 years. Many of us are aware of the suffering of the Copts because of recent bombings and martyrs being made by our Christian brothers and sisters. What most of us don't know is that this threat issued by Muhammad is the fountain of those acts of terror against the innocent Christians of Egypt. Now, some people might be tempted to think that I'm being unkind or that I'm being unfair. There are Muslims who perhaps will watch this show, but devout Muslims are not offended that I'm telling you about Muhammad's swords or about the letter that he wrote to the Copts. And by the way, the original letter is also in the museum in Istanbul, Turkey. You can see it. They revel in this. They relish their history because they believe that God sent Muhammad to break the back of polytheism, to break the back and to enslave Judaism and Christianity, and to bring the true religion of Allah, Mohammedism is what some people call it, Islam, is what Muslims call it. They believe that God sent Muhammad with the sword. The Christian faith teaches that Jesus came heralding good news and that he died for our sins. And he died so that we could be redeemed to God and have a relationship with God and be forgiven of our sins and become the sons and the daughters of God. Islam teaches that Christianity is polytheism, that because we believe in the Trinity, that we have associated another with God. And so Muhammad said, God is not begotten and neither doth he beget. He has no son, he has no equal. They despise the Trinity. They despise the theology and the doctrine, the dogma of the Trinity. And they believe that it is treachery against God. And as I said, they believe that God has commissioned them through Muhammad, through his example, as shown in this letter that he wrote to the Copts, that God has commissioned them to end this idolatrous faith, or at least to enslave it. And that's why when you look at areas that have in fact been conquered by Islam, and they leave small portions of the Christian church alive, such as happened in Greece with the nearly 400-year occupation of the Muslims, of our Greek Orthodox brethren, or such as happened in Spain in the Iberian Peninsula, such as happened and still happens to this day in Egypt, what we see is that it is a criminal act to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. The Muslims will say, well, they have freedom of religion. Well, what they mean is that they can go to church, but they can't ring bells signifying the resurrection of Christ. And they certainly cannot stand on a street corner and preach that Jesus is Lord, the Son of God, who died for our sins, rose again from the dead, and will come to judge the living and the dead. That, under Islamic law, is a criminal act. One other thing about our Coptic brothers and sisters. They embrace their faith to the degree that one of their charisms or their gifts or how they walk out their faith is to recognize that at any moment they could become a witness for Christ as a martyr with their death. We need to pray for them, we need to honor them, and we need to see from their sad experience the true heart and soul of Islam. It is a religion of the sword, and that's what Muhammad said to his daughter. Wash the blood from this sword, for by God it has served me well today. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. Hi friend, I'm Randall Terry. George Washington said, "Experience tells us that it is much easier to prevent an enemy from posting themselves than it is to dislodge them after they have got possession." John Boehner, Speaker of the House, recently appeared on Jay Leno. An interesting interview. He was trying to be funny at points. I want to play a clip, however, and talk for just a minute about the so-called infighting inside of the Republican Party.
My job is trying to get 218 frogs in the wheelbarrow long enough to pass a bill.
Okay, I got you.
It's hard to do.
Now, this GOP infighting, is this the worst you've ever seen it?
Oh, no, well, maybe it is. Probably.
Yeah.
It's probably.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Well, it is.
But listen, you know, the funny thing about the so-called infighting is that we agree on all the goals. We think Obamacare is bad for the country. We think we shouldn't spend more than what we bring in. We think the president's ignoring the laws.
Yeah.
It's all a fight over tactics. It's not over what our goals are.
Well, besides the fact that he was kind of insulting to his fellow members by alluding to them as frogs, I would take issue with some of what he said. I really don't believe that John Boehner and other Republicans in the House, but especially Speaker Boehner, I don't believe that he shares some of the same goals with Republicans. And that's why the infighting is getting so fierce. For example, Representative King from Iowa was denied by Boehner and his leadership the ability to introduce a bill that would have defunded Obamacare from square one. Yeah, it became law, but the purse strings are still controlled constitutionally by the House of Representatives. So something doesn't get funded unless it's in the budget, and budgets are required by law to be originated in the House of Representatives. So there were members that said, this is bad for the country, and we're not going to fund it. But they needed the permission of Boehner, which he denied them. Remember, it was John Boehner who caved in when negotiating with Obama and Biden over continuing the funding of Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood, in my opinion, and it's a studied opinion, is a criminal syndicate. They are involved, first of all, they're the largest murderer of unborn babies on the planet, except for the Chinese government itself. But they also are involved in hiding the crimes of pedophilia and child prostitution, horrible crimes involving minors, okay? It's been documented again and again and again. And yet Boehner restored their funding. I mean, he said, okay, he caved into Obama and to Biden. And so our money is going to this hideous organization. So I'm telling you this because a lot of evangelical Christians are Republican. That's been my observation. And a little bit more than half of Roman Catholics are Democrat, but there's a lot of them that are Republicans as well. Party, it can have its place. But friends, our loyalty to party must take second place to our loyalty to principle, all right? Principle matters more than party. And it's like a family. If you've got a crazy aunt in the basement, you might as well admit it. And you certainly don't want to give her the keys to the family car, all right? So when people say, I'm GOP, I'm a Republican, the Republican Party's got it all going on, the facts don't say that. I mean, the Republicans controlled the White House and both chambers of Congress for 6 years under George Bush. And they funded Planned Parenthood with every budget. So my encouragement to you is put principle first. You can be registered as an independent, whatever it is that you want to be. Certainly participate in the process, but really vet your candidates. Know who it is you're voting for. And my encouragement to you is don't give a single penny to the Republican Party, because they're going to use some of that money to pay for candidates who do not believe what you believe. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paulas Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Poor Justin Bieber. For those of you who are regular watchers of this program, you know that I rarely talk about Hollywood news. We don't use this program to discuss scandals. But I thought that I should focus for at least a couple minutes on the plight of Justin Bieber, his crazy behavior. Not so much for his sake or because of the salacious nature of these horrible things that are happening, but as an exhortation to the moms and the dads and the grandmas and the grandpas that are watching this program. For those of you who don't know, Justin Bieber, the 19-year-old pop singer, was arrested in Miami, Florida for drag racing. I think he was driving a Lamborghini. He was pulled over by the police. He admitted to smoking marijuana, doing some other drug, and had been drinking while he was driving, and was belligerent with the police, and they arrested him and actually jailed him. It's sad. It's foolish behavior on his part, and we need to pray that he doesn't have some horrible car wreck like James Dean that takes his life or takes someone else's life. That's not the point of this. The point is that there are millions of young girls who consider him a heartthrob. Maybe your family has Justin Bieber music in the house. Maybe your kids are watching him online. Who we expose our children to, or better said, who we allow our children to be exposed to, is really critical. And it's up to us as the parents. There is a long-standing movement afoot to try and get parents to abandon the educational and emotional and spiritual development of their children to the experts, starting with the experts at public schools. Well, I think it's becoming clear as we see the growing number of young people who are involved with drugs, who are involved with premarital sex, who are girls getting pregnant, the number of abortions, the number of STDs. It's getting pretty clear that the so-called experts are teaching young people how to use a condom, but they can't read the label, not able to read and write, many of them, and more sadly is that they have lost their moral compass. These so-called experts are making heroes out of people who do not deserve to be heroes. These young people like Justin Bieber are becoming de facto role models for kids because the kids want to emulate them. They want to sing like them, dance like them, dress like them, carry on like them. And we have a duty as parents to hold the line. One of the hardest things for a parent to tell their child is no. No. Because we want our kids to like us. We want our kids to love us. It's natural. But we can't put that desire for peace and harmony in the house ahead of what is best for our child's soul. And that's ultimately what this is all about. Our time here on earth is short-lived. We're on a journey to the next life where we will be forever. And I don't think God wants us to raise our children to populate hell. And the influences that we allow in our children's lives, their heroes, what they watch, what they listen to, what they read, all of these things have an impact on their intellect, on what they think, therefore what they feel, and therefore how they behave. Please, 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 make sure that your children are exposed to good literature, good music, good movies if you're a movie watcher, and that the heroes that they want to emulate are righteous men and women, not lost and misguided young souls like Justin Bieber.